Hello, and welcome to this live hangout. This examination for, you say, not again, ancient age bourbon. Okay, I'm going to be joined by John and Neil and probably William Copley very soon, I hope. John and Neil said he'd gotten a bottle and he wanted to do an examination of it. And then William said, oh, well, I have so much bourbon now and I don't feel like drinking that kind of stuff during the heat of the summer. Can't argue with that. But then he went and found a little small bottle, so he found some. I did some interesting research. In fact, they're saying on the website for Sazerac Company and I'll have to watch this video. I'm seeing that Dean's Beer Review's got an interesting video coming up. Or he's doing one right now. Peroni Grand Reserva, which we can't get here, and Lagunitas 12th of Never. I'll have to watch the playback. I like to see what they say about the 12th of Never. I had some issues with that beer. I found it was very dull. I don't mind dull, but if I'm paying $2 a can, oh, sorry, y'all, I have my volume off. If I'm paying $2 a can, I mind dull. Hello, John. Hello.
How y'all doing?
I'm all right. Hello, William.
Well, I just made it.
Whew, William's worn out. He just made.
Here's my. I didn't put my helmet away.
Oh, you've been riding.
I got more helmets than Imelda Marcos has got shoes. But this is my go-to helmet.
I like it.
It's like an AAL. Every day, nothing fancy, just good basic brain protection.
I
wear this a lot too. I took it off. It's one of these cooling towels. What works really well. It's amazing.
I know you're out in that heat.
We stopped and gassed up, and I went in the restroom and cooled it down, and it makes a world of difference. The only problem was when we walked in, I saw a 6-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon for $6.99 with a date of October the 23rd. I said, get your hand back, get it back, get it back. I said, if I took that beer and wrapped it in this, it probably would be still cold by the time I got home. But
hard to go wrong with PBR.
But I need to stay cool too. So,
yeah.
But that was that's a good date for an AAL to get one out that far, because it's not like the malt liquors. They don't go out 5 or 6 months ahead. But
right, that's pretty good. I have a 12-pack of Pabst. Well, I have 10 of them left from the 12-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and I'm gonna drink a Guinness tonight. I'm gonna finish off that Guinness.
This would make a great koozie too.
Sure. Now I was talking about before y'all came on, and I didn't hear y'all because I had I think my microphone was working, but I had my speaker off. I didn't realize that. But I was doing some research about this ancient age, okay? And I did see it for $9.99 a bottle at a couple of stores yesterday. So you can get this really cheap, $9.99 and $10.99. Okay, now if you look on the Sazerac and the Great Bourbons and the Buffalo Trace website, because there's 3 different websites for it, they keep talking about, well, this has been on the market since 1946. I never questioned that until I started doing some research on the trademark. But I found out that the trademark was secured in like November 1936.
Well, and on the website, the Buffalo Trace and the Sazerac website, it doesn't get too specific with the date either. It says since 1946, it's been held in high regard. Not that that's when it was created.
Yeah, but
so maybe it's very possible.
I know what you're saying, but I think on the Great Bourbons website, it says it's been on the market since 1946.
Okay. That's the one I didn't look at. I looked at the Sazerac and the Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, look at Great Bourbons. But I wrote him an email and I said, I think this bourbon has been on the market since 1936. Well, I know it's before 46 because I did an image search on Google, or was it Bing or Yahoo. Well, there's an old magazine ad for Ancient Age, and they called it Double A. They said that was the nickname for it, Double A. They said ancient is for the age, and age is something like it's for the taste or something. I don't know. Double A. But they said you may have trouble finding it right now, but they said all the Ancient Age we're selling now was made during peacetime. This is what the ad says. All the Ancient Age that we're selling now was made during peacetime. And they say after the war's over, we'll have it in production again. Well, what war? Wasn't the Falkland Islands War they're talking about. It's World War II, obviously, from the ad. So I said, oh, because, you know, they didn't have any of these restrictions in any of the other wars. So I said, there's proof right there that it was on the market well before 1946. So I sent them an email about it. And I've actually had other companies change their website because of information I sent them. So see what happens. They're pretty good at responding to people.
What would be the code for ancient age? What would that mean?
They don't make that anymore. That was the 10-year aged.
They don't make that currently.
Well, no, I think they still, the ancient age 10 star, the 90 proof, it's still on the Buffalo Trace website. The one that I think they discontinued was the Ancient Age 90, which is a 90 proof version as well.
Wait a minute. I'm going to clear that up. They had ancient age, and this was earlier this year. I was looking at the website, which was aged 10 years. It was 90 proof, like you said, and it was a 10-year in the barrel. Ancient age. I called Sazerac. I asked them about it. They looked it up on the computer. The lady said, no, they don't sell it in Louisiana. And she said, I think she said something like, well, they used to sell it here years and years ago, but it's no longer. I said, okay, don't worry about it. I said, I was just curious. Oh, okay. And that's when she said, come visit our distillery at Buffalo Trace. And I said, okay. Right after that, I started noticing they were showing Ancient Age 10 star, which is 90 proof as well, but it's only aged 6 years. Now, when I went to Kentucky, they did have that gold bottle. This is khaki, right? Or what is that color? No, what is that color?
Khaki.
Yes.
When I went up to Kentucky, they had the gold 10 star. It's gold. It's a gold label, like foil gold, and it says age 6 years with a number 6 on it. I saw that, but I couldn't buy everything, so I didn't buy it. It was a good deal more expensive. Then they had the Ancient Age, this one here, 80 proof, and right on the same shelf in some of the stores, maybe one store, they had the 90 proof. All the rest of the liquor stores in Kentucky had the 90 proof only. And I asked them about it. I said, what's up with the 90 proof? I never heard of this. Oh, yeah, well, that's what it is. I said, no, in Louisiana, we get 80 proof. Oh, the guy said, I never heard of that one. Well, then the store that had both of them, the lady said, oh, yeah, we get both. She said, but most people buy the 90 proof. But she said, that's not that unusual. So this is what I call those hidden brands. You know, a lot of companies have hidden brands that they don't reference on the website.
Yeah,
I believe that's what this is. The 90 proof is an alternative expression, and they just don't refer to it. They only refer to what we're doing today and the ancient age, which replaced the 10-year age. Somebody was talking about a barrel shortage because there's so many barrel-aged beers now and barrel-aged wines. But this bourbon barrel beer phenomena has caused the bourbon companies to be in a shortage for barrels, and that might have been why they dropped it to 6 years. I don't know, but it sounds plausible. What do y'all think?
Goose Island's getting their barrels only from Heaven Hill this year, after the 2 years ago when they had the bacteria problem.
It's funny that the whiskey companies are experiencing a shortage of barrels because of beer.
Yeah. Oh, William, and you think the infection was stemming from the barrel?
I don't think I've ever seen definitively yes or no. you know, but they were very cautious. They only introduced 4 varieties last year, and this year they're ramped up back to I think 7. And you know, they're hoping to get their mojo back with a good year this year with their Bourbon County Stout. But I did read that their exclusive barrel supplier this year would be Heaven Hill.
Okay.
But that bacteria thing could happen to anybody. It just happens, you know, and unfortunately, but whether it was directly traced to the barrels, I'm not sure. But they did make a note that they were using exclusively Heaven Hill this year.
Okay. Max Walt says, hello, Ronald. Glad to see you. Hello, Max Walt. He's over there in Europe or Eastern Europe. Well, William, you've never had Ancient Age.
Never have. Among the thousands I haven't had.
Right. That's not saying much. It's like people ask me, you never had that? I say, yeah, but that's not saying much. Considering the amount of bourbons I've had is.
Yeah. When I went to Kentucky, it was my eyes glazed over.
It's incredible.
Too many choices, not enough money, not enough stories to take it back. But it was an eye-opening experience, you know. But, it was fun.
Yeah, it's incredible there. John, you've had it.
Yeah, I tried it about 8 years ago and didn't really think twice about it. And I bought another bottle recently, and just getting back into it for the first time because it's been so long since I've had it. But I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least, when I cracked it open.
And I had no particular interest in it aside from that it was a brand and it was on the shelf. I did get more interested in it though because I found out that this Ancient Age was just one of those attempts to commit copyright infringement without getting in trouble, because there used to be a very popular series of bourbon and gin on the market called Seagram's Ancient Bottle. And if you look at old Google or Bing searches for Seagram's Ancient Bottle, you'll find that it's remarkably similar to this. But the bottle was different. You see, it was like the Seagram's bottle, that tall bottle with the ribbon, and it's got that rumpled thing all the way down. Well, when the Seagrams kind of went downhill and out of the market as far as being an independent company, then this bottle suddenly transformed into like Jim Beam. So
yeah, very similar.
They basically made their career with this bourbon mimicking other people's junk.
Imitation is a sincere form of flattery.
Right, and you'll notice that the Jethro T. Boots uses an identical bottle.
That's what I was thinking about. I didn't want to say it, but
exact same bottle.
It is. After a while, it starts to connect. Everything starts to connect.
Right.
Connect the dots.
The 6 degrees of bourbon
separation. Yeah.
And when I was doing one of my taste challenges, my Dawn Busters, I was struck. I said, hey, you know what? There's something about this that's making me think it has a high rye mash bill. And I thought I had read that a year ago when I was looking at their PDF file. Sure enough, I brought it back up. And this is listed under the Buffalo Trace high rye whiskeys. I said, I know something at least. It's a sour mash. It's only aged 3 years, this one. They give some pretty good, interesting notes. If you look up, if one of you two guys look up the Great Bourbons website, you'll notice they give some pretty interesting tasting notes.
Did they give the mash bill? Did they list it?
No, they just said that it was high rye relative to other.
It's probably a breakdown of about 75 corn, 13 barley, and 12 rye. Most of these go 75. You know, 51 is the minimum, but most of these go around the mid 70s. So it's probably about a 75, 13, 12 split. But
on the on that file, they were saying that what they call high rye is at least 15% rye.
Okay, well, that may be okay. A lot of them I've seen are like 75, 15, 10 split like that. But so whatever that definition of high rye means, it might be a minimum of 15. So rye may be second rather than barley.
And on that file, they show little pie charts also at the bottom to break it down for you. It's pretty interesting. Well, I guess we better try. What does your bottle look like? You have a little small bottle, right?
This is become my go-to, my little decanter. I like the looks of that thing.
Yeah.
Because these mineral bottles, you can't see anything to label much anyway. And it'll hold that 1.7 ounce I like the clarity of it better too.
So you found the little mini bottle. Yeah, I saw those all around Kentucky.
It looks like almost like a little decanter. It's got the point, and it works well.
We get mini bottles here, but not for Ancient Age. We get mini bottles for all kind of other stuff like Benchmark, Old No. 8. We get mini bottles all around for that, and Jim Beam, and we get mini bottles for that 99. That's a Sazerac cheapo brand. It's called 99.
I don't keep these little bottles because they're so small, and the graphics on them aren't very good or anything. So I just like to put it in this little
medicine bottle. Yeah, little.
What I call my mini decanter.
It's a short.
It classes it up a little bit for sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
Another. What was I going to say? Another common mini bottle we get here is the Fireball.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere here.
Everywhere you turn around here is Fireball, Fireball, Fireball. And there was a big news story the last week or two about Fireball in New England. I think it was in Maine. But Sazerac won that struggle.
The best deal here on the mini is the Evan Williams for 99 cents.
Holy smokes.
That's as cheap as the unit price for the bigger bottles. So you're not paying a penalty just to sample these. That's what I like, the ones that they're cheap. You can try them out. And it is for 99 cents. I mean, you can buy 10 of those, and you'd have 17. Let's see, you'd have about 14 ounces of whiskey for $10. Pretty good.
Yeah. Now the next hangout.
Yeah. Most of the minis that I get here are the flavored varieties like Smirnoff and Fireball, and I don't get a lot of the the good stuff in minis, so I have to splurge on the 750 ml bottle.
Well, I think in this case, it was a safe shot, a safe risk, because this is a good product, in my opinion.
Right.
In about a month or so, I don't know when, I got to get through all this stash that I've got, this backlog, but William wanted to do a examination of Early Times, which is a very famous brand. I believe I found, when I did the research for the trademark, it went back to 1889 or something like that.
Early Times.
Yeah, I've never seen the Early Times.
What?
I've never. Well, and it's probably just one of those that I overlooked, like the mellow corn. So if I start looking for it, it'll probably be pretty easy to find.
They'll definitely have Early Times in Georgia, West Georgia. Yeah, they'll have Early Times. Don't. Well, I poured mine. I'm ready to sample.
I'm thirsty after my motorcycle ride. I'm going to chase mine with Schlitz, I believe.
That sounds good.
My mouth is parched.
You might want to drink some water too, while you're at it.
Yeah, I'm going to grab some Gusto.
I've got some. I'm going to chase mine with a little Jenny Cream Ale.
Here I am telling them to drink water, and I'm going to close it out with Guinness Extra Stout. But I did not drink a lot today. I don't think I did. I drank. Well, let's not worry about all that. All right, now I really didn't. I did take a good nap though. Yeah, look at that. It's got an interesting aroma for such a simple product. It's what do you think, John?
It's just one of the the most pleasant aromas that you can get with a whiskey. It's just you get a lot of the caramel sweetness in the aroma, some of the vanilla, and then if you take a good close inhalation, you get more of the rye pepperiness. But it's just such a pleasant aroma. Nothing offensive at all in the aroma.
No. Let's see. I'm going to read some of the credible comments. Maxwell says, Ronald, do you play computer games? I never was much for computer games. I rather board games. And I do play Risk online sometimes, which is a board game in a computer format. anytime I play risk, though, it's a risk because they got some people on there that'll blow you apart because they do things you never think of doing. Like you say, I never thought of it. Like these scenarios get established and you just never think about doing it. And they must do it all day long. So they'll set you up. You don't realize you're being set up and then you'll fall for it. So yeah, I do that occasionally, but I get frustrated because they'll twist you in a million, like a macaroni, or what do you call those noodles? Those twisted noodles. Maxwell said a little bit away from the conversation. Yeah, don't even entertain it, Maxwell. I know that very often there are tornadoes around us. When was the last one? 2 years ago, and it was right behind my house, and I heard it, and I thought it was going to hit my house, but it decided to go that way, decided to go east, northeast, and I was very happy, but I felt bad for all those houses that were destroyed. It destroyed a good dozen houses, or 2 dozen. Hello, Ronald, says Sky Styles. Hello, Sky Styles. Daryl Lisa got me some Bullet Bourbon and a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. Oh, that sounds like a good lineup. Hey, Ron, has anyone heard from John Sharon? I heard from him a little bit. He talked about how he would be interested in doing, of all things, believe it or not, Richard's Wild Irish Rose. But he never said much else about it. So I don't know what's going on with that situation. But he said he would do it, but he didn't say too much else. I could invite him to this. I did invite him to the hangout, but he never responded. But he's busy, you know, he's got a job. In the past, when he wouldn't do hangouts, he said it was just family things going on. Okay, let's see. Not bad things. I mean, just things you have to do. Okay. But I'll send him an invite just in case. He's got a huge liquor stash, so he might show up with Ancient Age. So, William, you never had it. So what do you think about the aroma?
To me, there's sort of a template for these products in this price range, this 80 proof. You know, corn, sort of a caramel / toffee, some vanilla, and a little bit of oak. That's what but to me, that's nothing different much than most of these products that I've tried in this price range. It's, like I said, there seems to be sort of a template or a blueprint for these, and this one certainly doesn't deviate from the norm.
I agree with that.
But nothing offending. I mean, it's, you know, it doesn't scream rot gut cheap. You know, it's just what it is. But certainly nothing you would say, well, I'm not going to try this. You know, it's.
I think really with the Ancient Age, the aromas of a lot of these, you know, whiskeys at this price point are going to be very similar. It's in the taste that you really notice the difference.
Yeah. I like how the label says carefully distilled along the banks of the Kentucky River. Well, there's no doubt about that because the distillery is literally right backed up to the river. And you can see the river, and it's a beautiful setting. And they were touting this when I went to the tour at Buffalo Trace. They touted Ancient Age, and the guy was talking about, oh, yeah, here's all these barrels. We have Ancient Age in there. He said, it's an inexpensive brand. He said, but I like it, you know. And he says, very popular. We sell a mess of it, you know. It's kind of nice, you know. It wasn't one of these things where they try to avoid talking about it. But like William says, it's a template. I would imagine that the very old Barton 80 proof is probably quite similar to this. I bought a bottle of it.
I'd like to do a side by side this and the boots, Jethro T boots.
And that's age 4 years at least.
Yeah.
Only 3.
Yeah, that's sort of surprising. That was pleasantly surprised when I got home with it. And I said, well, I was looking for that 36 months buried in the description or something. A lot of times they don't put the number, they'll put 36 months, like on some of the Heaven Hill. I said, well, by process of standard deduction, I said, well, it's got to be 4. If it was 2 or 3, they would have to state it. So I picked up an extra year then and got $1 off too at CVS. So that was a pretty good find.
Right, because you would expect a cheapo to be less age, not more.
Right. I would almost bet money on the 3 years. That just seems to
What's
be
the price
number
of the what's the price of the Jethro T boots for a 750?
Mine was
Is it
$8.99 for a 750 milliliter bottle?
Yeah, it's
wow,
$8.99. That's
a good
it.
deal.
Oh yeah, it's the best deal on the market for what you're getting. Talking about bang for your buck, there's your answer.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So you pay $2 less and you get an extra year of aging.
But when I did a side by side, I had trouble telling them apart, honestly. But there was a difference, and I got it right. So my advice on that taste challenge was go with the Jethro T boots. I mean, why wouldn't you want to save $2? There's no argument there, or at least $1.
And the boots, like the label,
Right.
It looks pretty classy. It doesn't scream like house brand CVS.
No.
If a novice that don't know that much about the whiskeys, I mean, it's fine. And even if you do know, it's still fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bang for the buck and a sleeper one too. So that's definitely a sleeper. A CVS brand is definitely under the radar. No question about it.
Williams throwing out all his thematics this evening.
Jethro T boots under the radar.
Well, let's go with the taste, John. You can go first. I've worn this out with my Dawn Busters. There's not a lot for me to say.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably going to say a lot of the same that you've already said, but the taste is a lot like the aroma. You get a little bit of the corn in the taste. It's very sweet in the taste as well, and you get some of that alcohol burn. I was looking at the tasting notes on the Buffalo Trace website, and it says that you're supposed to pick up a little bit of citrus in the finish, and I don't get the citrus. That's the only characteristic that I don't pick up on is the citrus, but a very mellow, easy drinking. I think the 80 proof is right in my wheelhouse as well. Once you get to 90 and 100 proof, they can be a little harsh. So the Ancient Age is right up my alley. It's just very smooth, enjoyable, and it has a lot more flavor than some of the other cheaper whiskeys. Like the Canadian Mist, I found was just dull and
bland.
But this is very enjoyable. Yeah.
I noticed that rye starts to kick in. It's a delayed reaction, but then that peppery note starts to come into play. It was funny. We were on that tour, and somebody was saying, somebody was mentioning, I don't like all that harsh stuff. And then the tour guide said, hold on a minute. We don't use that term harsh. We like to say bold. I said, oh yeah, y'all are clever, huh? He said, yeah. Just like at Jack Daniels, he said, we don't say we don't blend our whiskey. We mingle it. I said, oh, okay. And they don't filter it. They mellow it. I said, y'all like to use euphemisms. They do. These companies love to use these euphemisms.
Yeah, that's interesting, that charcoal mellowing. You don't hear a lot about that that process. Like if you were to look up charcoal mellowing, there's really, I don't know, I find there's just kind of like a cloud, just, a cloud around it where it's I don't know, it remains an enigma to me, the specifics of the charcoal mellowing.
Oh, well, you can go on a tour and they'll show you how to do it. You can watch it happen. It's pretty much a Jack Daniels only thing now. Other companies abandoned it. I guess they figured out that the price they paid wasn't worth the payoff. So Jim Beam discontinued their charcoal mellowed version this year. I got the last Jim Beam choice.
It's interesting. The Old English 800 used to charcoal filter or charcoal mellow, whatever you want to call it, their malt liquor. So that's filter, interesting.
Yeah. That was in the old Pabst days. Once it got bought out by Miller, you never saw that again. Miller said, nope. Alcoholics on the street don't care if it's charcoal mellowed or not. They care if it's 99 cents a 24 ounce, which apparently was the case.
Right.
Now, William is doing the first ever Ancient Age pairing with Schlitz in the history of the internet. So this will be an interesting exposition.
If you like it light with the big taste too, there's only one brew that will do. When you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer. No more eloquent words were ever spoken on the TV advertisement.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when you consider who spoke those words. Kojak. Telly Savalas did those commercials.
Schlitz here, but I'm gonna, chase mine down with a little bit of the Ginny Cream Ale. That's all I got.
Well, as far as taste-wise, on the Ancient Age, it seems to me the palate pretty much follows the nose. There's a caramel sweetness on the tongue, and the same flavors seem to follow all the way through. I also didn't pick up any citrus at the end, but if I maybe by the power of suggestion with a couple more sips, maybe. But honestly, if I didn't know otherwise, I wouldn't have said citrus. But the other flavors, seem to be pretty prominent. Like I said, there's that blueprinted template, but it's fine at the price point. I mean, I don't think you go wrong with it really. And then to have a nice Schlitz to chase it down with ice cold Schlitz, not a bad combo.
No, that's what do they call those things when you mix the beer and the whiskey? There's a name for those things. They call that a
not in a beer.
Yeah, it's like a nickname for that drink.
Citywide special in Philadelphia. Such to Hams in Heaven Hill. There are a lot of pairings. Some places you can get it for $3. So
now let's see. Some people made some more comments. Ryan Hackett says, "Great video. Thank you for the consistent content." Hey, you're welcome, and thanks for the support, Ryan. Maxwell Serrano, if you are in Facebook, throw off the link, please. Add to your friends. Well, just look up Alcohol Eggs on Facebook. You'll see I'm the guy that runs that, Alcohol Eggs. And just look for that Falstaff icon, that Falstaff, what do they call that? I can't remember the name for that. They call that
I always call it the logo.
Avatar.
Avatar, yeah. I never did go see that movie, but I don't watch movies. Oh. I certainly can add to you, but with the language of the problem, I just hear in a special, right, because Maxwell's from Russia. So, yeah, I mean, you could be friends with me on Facebook, but how are we going to communicate? Although I do communicate with the lady down in Brazil through Translator. She puts her salad photos, and I put my beer photos, and she likes my beer photos, and I like her salad photos. Conflicted Grace says, "I'm sticking to my Jim Beam, laugh out loud." Well, that's not a bad thing to stick to. Avatar, yeah, I see. Yeah, Alcohol Eggs, Maxwell. If you join Alcohol Eggs, I'll let you join. Hey, why not? I have some other Europeans in that group. As long as you don't try to sell sunglasses. All right. You get these spammers, they join, and the first thing they post, "You can buy these sunglasses." And I say, "Oh Lord," I just delete them. I just kick them out the group. They're not joining the group to participate. They're just joining it to, I don't know what they're doing.
They have ulterior motives, an agenda.
Yeah. They all come from Pakistan or Nigeria. Once you see it's Pakistan or Nigeria, don't let them join because you know what's coming.
This is one of the nicer pairings I have had with the beer and the shot. I've tried a few that I didn't really like that well. They just seem like one sort of spoiled the flavor of the other ones, back to back. But this is maybe it's because I've just been, it's a hot day, been out and riding it. But this is very, very enjoyable.
Do you notice that rye? I'm picking up that rye peppery jolt.
More at the finish of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, after you get through that initial, the caramel, the sweetness, the toffee corn character.
Yeah. I'm getting that barrel too. That charred barrel action is coming into play. And William commented on my photos. He said, and I was shocked too. He said he was shocked by how much char was on those barrels. I thought it was lightly charred. I didn't realize it was a 2-inch thick layer of pure charcoal.
That was really revealing for me. That was worth all the pictures just to get that one. Because I hadn't, when they say char, they mean charred. They're not minimizing it. It really is.
Now we see why they turn.
It really is interesting, the extent of the char on the barrels. I looked up some images. I think there was a video I watched. It was the Jack Daniels distillery, but they were showing, the char on the barrels and the process and everything that they go through to char those barrels. And they really, boy, when they say charred, you're right. They really are charred. So then you might think.
Yeah, because when that bourbon is poured into those barrels, it's clear like vodka. But that charcoal and that wood turns it brown. Now, of course, some companies cheat and they add caramel coloring, but they have to put that on the label if it's a whiskey, not if it's a bourbon.
Now they don't add coloring to this, do they?
Not if it's a brandy. Oh no, it cannot be a bourbon. A bourbon, no bourbon can have caramel color, any flavorings or colors added.
That's right. Okay.
No bourbon can have that, and it has to be in never before used barrels. Has to be aged a minimum of 2 years. It has to be at least 51% corn. It's very strict, and like William said in the past, they're not playing around with these regulations either. You don't want to be caught violating them.
Yeah.
I really take no issue with this ancient age. If there's a problem with it, I'd like to know what the problem is, honestly. And I've said that before in my videos. I just don't see what's wrong with it. Is it the greatest thing? No, it is not. But even the company makes no claim to that effect. They're pretty much telling you, here's a cheap bourbon. You want to spend a little bit of money and get something acceptable? Buy this. Sazerac is very forthcoming with their price points, I find.
I agree. Yeah, and Ronald, you were talking about the finish a little bit. That pepperiness really comes out. It kind of just opens up your nose a little bit.
Yeah.
On the back end.
I think that's why the Schlitz tastes pretty good. But following it up, because I didn't take any water to just cleanse my palate. But the sweetness of the sweetness of the Schlitz, the malty sweetness, really, these two pair very well together, I'll have to say.
Yeah. Likewise with the cream ale here, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, yours has got yours 5.2%, and it has some corn sweetness too. They use the grits in the. They actually do use corn.
Right.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about that uses the corn? I was out getting my Guinness. I went out in the other room. What did you say, William? Repeat that. He was talking about corn grits.
Talking about the pepperiness of the finish of the ancient age. I said that's why this seems to pair well with the Schlitz, because then you take a sip of the beer and you get that malt corn sweetness up front. Which sort of pairs well together. And then he mentioned about his cream ale, which that does actually use. They actually do use corn. They don't use a brewer's syrup. They use grits.
Corn grits.
Energy products. But I mean, I didn't cleanse my palate, but these taste perfectly fine together. And after the second sip, they didn't taste any different than they did the first time. There was no like alteration or anything.
Yeah, there's I started looking at some of the reviews of the Ancient Age too, and most of them are not too negative, but they a lot of them say pretty much the same thing, that it's dull and should only be used as a mixer, which I disagree with the Ancient Age. Maybe for the Canadian Mist, because that was a little too dull for me, and just a lot more corny. So I could see that more as a mixer. But with the Ancient Age, I find that it holds up pretty well. Neat. I think it's got a lot of character, and it's not something that I would mix. I mean, I wouldn't mix whiskey anyway now, but I definitely think it holds its own as a standalone.
I agree, and certainly the Canadian Mist doesn't present anything that you would really want to spend time with as far as a neat, straight drinker. But I will give credit to Brown-Forman, because they will tell you on their website that this product is designed as a mixer. So they're not sitting there telling you, oh, it is so fabulous to drink straight in a glass. They're telling you, I mean, so I don't have a problem if a company is going to sell a product and tell you openly, it would probably be a good idea to buy this and make mixed drinks. And here's a long list of mixed drinks that we suggest that you make with it. So I don't have a problem with that. It was designed, I mean, come on, 50 years ago, Canadian Mist was designed as an inexpensive Canadian blended whiskey to be used in mixed drinks. So why would somebody take issue with that?
Right. And right there on the website, they have recipes and stuff that they suggest, different cocktails and stuff that they recommend you try with the Canadian Mist as a mixer. Right.
So Canadian Club accomplishes exactly what it was created to accomplish. So I cannot find any fault with it. Now this, like you said, Ancient Age, yes, it's a mixer, but it does have enough attributes to stand alone as a sipper. I ought to know. I've been sipping on half the bottle for a few weeks. My daughter and her boyfriend tried it. They had no knowledge of this bourbon, because I can assure you they are not going to sit down and do research on bourbons. They'll drink them, but they're not going to research them. They're like, regular people who don't do that. And they were happy with it. They weren't overwhelmed. They didn't brag on it, but they were pleased with it. And I think that's the most you can ask for a $9.99 bourbon.
Yeah, I agree.
Straight bourbon, not a blend like Kentucky Gentleman. I did have some, William, I want to talk to you about this. I did a standalone review of Kentucky Gentleman on my own. It did seem to present more character than when you and I did that examination, because we were kind of going after it pretty hard, which is fair because we could look at it. We were drinking it. We were looking at it for what we were interpreting. But I did sit down and think about it a little bit, and I said, I want to try to take back a little bit of what I said. Kentucky Gentleman does have a little more going for it. But on the other hand, I can buy Ancient Age for the same price, and it's pure whiskey. It doesn't have 49% grain neutral spirits, and it has more character.
Yeah, I think Kentucky Gentleman, generally speaking, is a little bit above the 80-20 group as a whole.
Oh, yes.
There may be exceptions, like the McCormick, I thought, was go toe-to-toe with it.
You said it.
But like you said, for $1 more, you can move up into one with none of the neutral grain spirits in it. To me, that's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. And I noticed something about Southern Comfort, but I don't mess around with liqueurs, okay? So you can look for my liqueur reviews in around 2048 when I'm 80. God willing, I'm still alive. But I noticed something about Southern Comfort. It's not even using blended whiskey. They use spirit whiskey. I said, spirit whiskey? Good googa mooga. You know what spirit whiskey is? It's less than 20% pure whiskey. I said, boy, oh boy, what a concoction this must be. But it doesn't hurt the sales, because Southern Comfort is a top selling item. So, I mean, if you can get away with it, go ahead and do it.
Janis Joplin was a big drinker.
She sure was, and she just stuck with Southern Comfort instead of the China White. She might have still been singing today.
And for the company's appreciation, they gave her a fur coat as a gift.
Oh?
Sure did. Because she gave them so much free advertising because she was drinking it every night on stage. And they asked her, would you like anything? She said, yeah, I'd like a fur coat. So they gave her a fur coat.
So that was an example of product placement.
Right. Every night it was a free advertising. So least they could do was give her a fur coat, which they were more than willing to do.
And unfortunately, the Golden Triangle gave her a hot dose for mouthing off to him. But anyway, that's another story. That overdose story. But anyway, that's another story. A lot of these suicide folks are not exactly suicides. But, all right. That's a moral. That's a morality. That's a moral to a story. Don't get into a verbal conflict with Los Angeles drug dealers, because it might not work out for you. But anyway, Ancient Age. Ancient Age is fine. It's not world class, but then whoever thought it was, you know what I mean? Nobody ever thought it was world class. No one ever thought a Plymouth Valiant was world class, but they sure sold a lot of them. But they were nice from 1961 to 1976. Lee Iacocca said, "Why did we ever get rid of that car? The thing never broke." And we got rid of the Plymouth Valiant and replaced it with a Plymouth Volare.
Volare.
The most recalled vehicle in automotive history.
I think the bottom line on this, and many of these products are that I think most people will, with a purchase, will feel like they got their money's worth. That's really all you can ask for. This product does what it's supposed to do in a vast marketplace of from bottom shelf up to high class whiskey. It does what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And I think the majority of, as I've discovered, the majority of these have done that. They're not cheating the public. People are getting a pretty darn good value for what they pay. It's just my opinion.
Amen. I second that comment. Even Kentucky Dale is not cheating the public. Because look at Kentucky Dale. It is as low as it can go. You are not going to get a cheaper whiskey than Kentucky Dale. What does it promise? Nothing. The people buying Kentucky Dale, what did they expect? A bountiful amount of flavor? A unique drinking experience? No, they do not. You know what they're expecting. Do they get what they're expecting? They certainly do. And for two bottles for $4, they're very pleased. So you go into the dark corners of America's cities and interview the people buying Kentucky Dale, and I think you'll find that they're very satisfied with their purchases. Okay.
Yeah, rather than turn your nose up at these products, just take an honest look at what they really are. And sometimes I think you'll wind up being pretty darn impressed by what they are, what they accomplish at a certain price point. Yeah, I drank the Kentucky Dale. Never at one point did I say, I got to run and dump this in the drain or I'm going to throw up immediately. I just sat there and drank it. I said, this is not that bad, actually. I'm rather surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Absolutely.
You know?
At the price point, I don't think you're going to, I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to find a better product. There might be comparable products out there at the same price point, but you're not going to find much out there, $9.99, $10.99 a bottle, that's going to be just,
no,
that much more exquisite, that much better. You get what you pay for.
I think the customer's in a pretty good position. These companies are highly competitive. They all want to make money, and nothing wrong with, and I think it benefits the customer, the competition.
Right.
If you look at these products objectively, I think they represent good value for the money you pay. And that's all you can really ask.
The problem you get is when people buy a bottle of this or, something comparable to the Ancient Age and they try to compare it to Four Roses or Pappy Van Winkle, that's not even a part, so that's when you start having these problems. And that's when I turn off the video and because your credibility just kind of goes out the window when you
more about them than it does the product.
Right.
Plenty of that around. But
no one, you're making a great point, John. No one in their right mind, no reasonable person is going to take a 1985 Chevrolet Cavalier RS and compare it to a 1985 Buick Grand National and then sit there and pick the Cavalier RS apart and say it doesn't have nearly the acceleration of a Grand National, because only a fool would think that from the get-go. Your premise is awry. There's no sensible extrapolation of that, right?
Right.
You're not going to buy.
You see a lot of that.
I know, and that's a problem. I see it too. I watch it and I just shake my head and say, "Good grief!" I mean, just watch these recent things I talked about. This review of Corona Extra. That was not a review. That video was made for an intentional purpose, and the review was never part of it. No, it was not a review. They already knew what they were going to say before the camera was clicked on record.
Right.
Now
it's a straight up slam at that point.
Like William said, to obtain cheap laughs. And
you mentioned about the cars. Cars are at a pretty good place now in history. How many, the average driver every day, how many cars do you see disabled on the road? I see very few.
Very few.
Very, very few. For $13,000, maybe even less than that, with rebates and incentives, you can get a Ford Focus. A Ford Fiesta. It's probably going to give you a decent driving experience, ownership experience, and you're not going to be left stranded out on the road with it. Can you take it with goodness sake and turn great lap times? No, that's not what it's designed to do. With point A to B transportation and just a livable small car, I mean, it's fine, because I lived through the era of the 70s where the American car companies were at their nadir. It was the lowest of the low. And now I think that, and the parallels, like with the beer, your budget brands, your whiskey budget brands, your car, economy cars, I think the customer now is in a pretty darn good position, that you're getting good value for the hard-earned buck that you do spend.
That's right, because in 1978 you could buy a Plymouth Horizon, but you're going to be on the side of the road.
That's an observation I make to people. When's the last time? How many cars do you actually see stranded on the side of the road? People take for granted your car's going to fire up and run well every time, and for the most part, they do.
Look, I have an uncle. He's still alive. He was born in 1952. All right. He bought a brand new 1973, might have been 74 Dodge Challenger. All right. Beautiful car. You know the Dodge Challengers, 1974, 73, 74. Beautiful car. Beautiful. He bought it. What was the price? $4,200, $4,800, something like that. About a month after he bought it, he went and rolled the window up and the window fell out. Literally on the driver's side, he rolled the window up, it fell out onto the driveway and smashed and shattered. That will not happen today. That has not happened since 1980, okay? So what William's saying is the truth. That only happened in the 70s. That does not happen anymore, okay?
In the 70s, the union blamed corporate management. Management blamed the union. It was workers versus management. And they were crappy cars. I know they were. They were having to deal with the oil embargo, tightened emission standards. I had a car that it was a death trap to try to cross an intersection in the morning if it wasn't completely warmed up, because it was leaned out. The carburetor was leaned so thin that it was not safe until it had warmed up 10 to 15 minutes. And nowadays you get in a car. I mean, people they're old enough to remember that this is a very good time to be a customer. Whether you talk about cars, beer, or general, a lot of products. I mean, what's the price now with the big screen TVs? They practically give them to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the days of television repair? You could turn on the, let's go back to 1977. Every time you turned on a color television, you had to sit down and tune it. Every time. You had to tune in the contrast, tune in the color.
The hue.
The hue. And I don't mean some of the time, I mean every time. So from what we've gone from, which is the antediluvian age, pre-Noah's Ark, to today, it's mind-blowing. And like William said, it's the same thing with bourbon whiskey. It's just like in that movie Casino from 1995, like Joe Pesci said, it's routine. In and out, that's it. It's over. You don't think about it. You buy it, you drink it. There's no thought to it. So the whole point of what we're trying to make is that the people that get on the internet and make videos and they'll rip a product apart, but there's no sense to it, because what they're talking about is it's 2017 and they're talking about it like it's 1973, but it ain't 1973. You know what I mean? It's just like a bunch of flim flam. It's an attempt to get views or whatever. I don't know what it is. Establish street credibility. I don't understand, but it's
there's no context in many of this stuff. You know, sometimes with the selfie generation, they want to look inward rather than look outward and see the big picture. It's like I don't understand why there isn't some respect for these huge beer companies, because they paved the way for craft beer.
Right. Without your macro lagers, you wouldn't have craft beer. So
they established the fact that Americans love beer. What if they had flopped? Where would beer be in this country at this point right now?
Everything started out as a craft beer, right? I mean,
yeah, the craft is just a word. All beers are crafted,
right?
Quote unquote. But the fact that they're, you know, nobody's knocking the Model A Ford. You know, as far as the history of transportation, Henry Ford said if he'd gave them what they wanted, they said, we want a faster horse. And he gave them the car instead.
Right.
Urban mobility, human mobility with the car was a huge advancement of the 20th century. And nobody's knocking the Model A Ford or the Model T. But these beer companies, I discussed it with John one night.
You could get that in any color you wanted as long as it was black.
That's right. We talked about this a little bit. I mentioned post one of these hangouts. The fact that beer is still sold alongside craft beer offends a lot of craft beer drinkers. That's the bottom line. If it would go away, that would please a lot of those. But the fact that you walk in a beer store, you still see the Budweiser, you still see the Miller, you still see the Coors.
You're taking up that shelf space that these craft,
you're not going to the dealership
beers want.
It's sold alongside a Model A. Technology makes obsolete many products. I don't have a Commodore computer still. Technology, I mean, with your basic laptop or computer nowadays, every 2 years the memory doubles, the RAM doubles, the hard drive space doubles. It's built-in obsolescence. But yet these beers still hang around like cockroaches. The Budweisers, the Millers, the Coors, and all these, they're still sold. They still, and in sales, they still dominate.
And what does that tell you? That's just a testament to their quality, and
it certainly speaks higher than what they've been talked about. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, as we close this out, talking about making enemies and gaining few friends, we're going to do an examination Wednesday night. We won't gain any friends doing this examination, but we'll gain a lot of enemies. We're going to do something that is like the crucifix to the vampire. If you watch a Lon Chaney movie, or Lon Chaney Jr., the most divisive product on the planet. We're going to examine Budweiser. Now, I have never seen a product that will cause people more anger, hysteria, inclination to violence,
apoplectic fits,
than Budweiser. I see people that are normal people. They have families. They eat cupcakes. They watch Dallas Cowboys football games. They go into a beer store and they see Budweiser and their eyes roll back in their head and they seize up and they want to hurt people. So it's such a fascinating, I've done my beer channel for going on 7 years. And it's fascinating to me that a product, it's just a consumer product like Kraft macaroni and cheese or Ovaltine. I never see anybody getting angry about Ovaltine. But you say Budweiser and they go into almost a seizure. So we're going to examine Budweiser Wednesday night at 6:30, and I would expect that the thumbs down would far outweigh the thumbs up, because that's the nature of the beast. That is the flashpoint product in the beer world today. I mean, I've never seen, it's unreal. I've never seen anything like it. It's absolutely unreal what people say about this product.
There's some that can do a hangout, and the topics could be bestiality, misogyny, necrophilia. Nobody will post a negative comment. You do Budweiser. You mean you're doing another review of that horse piss? Come on, man. So just hypocrisy will reign supreme.
I challenge anybody who thinks that Budweiser tastes like horse piss, you know, to drink horse piss and Budweiser side by side. And if you still think it tastes like horse piss, well, I'll say after that, but I seriously doubt that you will.
Yeah, it's funny because that's the most common comparison, is that it tastes like horse urine. I've never been one to have an interest in drinking horse urine, but I do like drinking beer. And like John asked me, why did you start doing video reviews? I said a large part of that was the whole Budweiser thing, because if I had read 100 reviews and people would have said, well, Budweiser's a little bit dull to me, I prefer something more flavorful, it wouldn't have made an impression on me whatsoever. I may have never started a video channel. But it was the comments like, I'd rather be beaten with barbed wire than drink Budweiser. It tastes like antifreeze and all this stuff, that I said, oh no, I mean, this is like totally, and I wasn't a Budweiser fan, actually, but I said, this is beyond the pale. There's no, like William said, there's no, or you said, there's no perspective. There's no, it's insane. It's madness.
Right. And even if you don't like the product, you know, just, you have to respect its heritage and, you know, its quality. You get a Budweiser, you know, in California, you get a Budweiser in South Beach, you know, anywhere in the country, probably, you know, and anywhere, even overseas, and the quality is going to be the same. So, you know, and you don't get that with a lot of the craft breweries, you know, because they just don't have the means to control the quality like the, you know, like your InBev, Anheuser-Busch, or Miller Coors can. So
you're right, but this hysteria, that hysterical approach to beer appreciation, kind of like was the impetus for my beer channel. I said, I don't understand this. You know, I was like, I'm just sitting here at my house, right, looking on the computer, and I said, what is all this? This is like craziness, you know.
Okay.
There's
an interesting article.
Okay, hold on. Any last comments? My last comment on Ancient Age. It's fine. I wouldn't like go seek it out, because considering it's sold everywhere, you don't have to seek it out. And don't expect a whole lot. But then on the other hand, whoever bought Ancient Age expected a whole lot. I'd buy it again. Fine, no problem. Okay, last comments. I interrupted William, but anyway, I'm not going to say anything else. All right.
I don't think most people would be disappointed for the amount of money paid and return in value for the product. I can't see how anybody really would be disappointed in it. You know, it represents well for its price point. And mention about the I saw an article recently about Goose Island. There's a reporter for the Chicago Tribune that looked at these beers 5 years after the acquisition by AB InBev. And it was very positive, actually. They went through about each brand. As far as the IPA, or one of the brands, they threw out 5 batches before they thought they got it well enough and got it right. The brewmaster for Goose Island said, we tossed out more beer than a frat house in the country will drink in a year. So I do think they, you know, obviously the bottom line, money's important. There's nothing wrong with making money. I do think that they care about these products. And the fact that if you read that article in its totality, you know, it speaks pretty highly for the way they've tried to treat these beers that they have acquired, the Goose Island products that are being made at the big breweries, at the Anheuser-Busch breweries. You know, so
yeah, but
maybe,
yeah, but
I feel pretty good about the next time I go out and get a Goose Island.
But as a counterpoint, I've seen some beer reviewers say that this is their quote, everyone knows that since the buyout, the quality has gone down. Who knows this? And what is the basis upon which this statement is being made? I hear this, but I'm trying to find some quantitative basis for it. You know what I'm talking about? Like, And the person's point was, the reason everybody knows it's bad now is because they're using cheaper ingredients, and we all know that. How do we know this? What is the evidence of this?
But
there isn't any.
Of the 6 beers that they analyzed, seems like they nailed it on 2 of them. 2 more were good, and 2 weren't. They weren't really pleased with 2 of them. One of them was the 2 that. But overall, it seemed like they came across pretty well, that they actually did care about these beers. They wanted to get it as good, if not better, than it was when it was brewed at the Goose Island breweries.
But you know what I'm saying, William? The conspiracy theory is that the company that bought them out intentionally was in a conspiracy to destroy Goose Island and make it a bad product.
But this is 5 years down the road from someone who lives in Chicago and works for a newspaper. So that, they've been on the scene the whole time. So I thought it spoke pretty well about what they were doing with the product. And as far as the 2 years ago with the bacteria problem with Goose Island, I mean, that would have happened regardless of AB InBev ownership. That happened at the Goose Island Brewery in Chicago. That would have happened anyway. Things like that can happen to a brewery, and unfortunately, it just happened to them. But to link that with the ownership of AB InBev, I think, is disingenuous.
Yeah, and people have asked me in the past, well, don't you find that the quality is going down since the buyout? I said, I cannot speak to that because I never tried a single Goose Island beer before the buyout. We never got them down here. After the buyout, we started getting all the products. So how can I comment? I never tried them.
Yeah, the same thing happened with the Ballast Point. A lot of people that used to drink that, they won't mess with it anymore because it was bought out.
Yeah, that's a.
But if anything, the quality, the distribution, and I think their line has actually expanded a little bit as well. But everything has actually improved, if anything, and the quality control is better. So
the only
it's hard to knock it.
Yeah, John, the only product I ever tried that the flavor changed after a buyout was Rolling Rock. I used to drink Rolling Rock back in 1996, 97, 98, off and on up until 2006. I never liked that beer. It had a strange undertaste, and it tastes like chalk. I didn't understand this. Why does this beer have a chalky taste? Well, I didn't like it. I said, something's wrong here. There's something wrong with this company. But I didn't make a big issue out of it. I just didn't buy it. Right? Like William says, people vote with their pocketbook. Well, then Anheuser-Busch bought it out in 2006. Once again, I paid really no mind to that. I didn't care. But I bought it after the buyout. No chalkiness. No weird undertaste. Apparently, they noticed that too, and they corrected it. So I did notice a change, but it was a change for the better. Now,
right.
People might say, oh, you have some kind of like shadowy connection to Anheuser-Busch, and you're getting juiced in underneath. I actually wish that was the case.
Yeah.
I wish I was receiving secret direct deposits from that company. Unfortunately, I have never received a single dollar from that company. So I feel disrespected by them more than anything, because if anybody ever bragged on their products on the internet, it was me. But yet, look at it. I never received anything from those people except for some free beer on the brewery tour in 2015, but I paid $30 for the tour. And they gave me some free beer after the end of the tour because there was nobody there on the tour except for myself, and they were bored and they wanted something to do. I wouldn't exactly call that compensatory reciprocity, so anyway.
Yeah, I think the check should have stopped, because if anyone's watched these videos, they know that we've taken shots at AB InBev over their incompetent advertising campaigns over certain beers.
Like,
it's not a love fest.
No.
By any means. I mean, if anybody's based them more about Busch Copper than me, I don't know who has. Or the way they, these big breweries, they do have missteps. And we try to call them out when they do.
Absolutely. The Busch Signature Copper Lager would still be around today if they marketed it better, because it's such a fine product,
This was
it's a shame.
This was a catastrophic handling of the best product Anheuser-Busch put out on the market in 30 years. Busch Signature Copper Lager. How anyone could fail, I mean, it's beyond belief. So they don't like that kind of bad press. So if there was ever a beer that was mishandled, it was Busch Signature Copper Lager. I mean, when I drank it, I was floored. I said, I've never drank. I can't believe it. I'm stunned. But I was even more stunned and taken aback by their absolute, total, and incoherent lack of promotion for this product. It's like, wow, you've basically, what is that, Handel's Messiah? You've created this and you've done nothing to promote it. No one knows about it. I mean, it's inexcusable, absolutely inexcusable.
Yeah, why not put the Busch Signature Copper Lager colors on Kevin Harvick's car in NASCAR, let him run around for 500 laps, and let the Busch drinkers on TV watch and say, I'm a Busch drinker. Hey, I might like to try that. They're targeting it toward me, a Busch customer, for those slightly, quote, special occasions. They didn't do it. It just died on the vine.
Did nothing. So
absolutely nothing. And yet Yuengling Traditional Lager is a number 12 selling beer in this country. They ought to be ashamed of themselves.
And Yuengling Traditional Lager can't hold a candle to Busch Signature.
They had a hidden gem, and they botched it terribly.
Right. And anybody who would drink those two, I think, would be very clearly able to tell that the Busch Signature Copper Lager was head and shoulders superior to the Yuengling Traditional Lager.
And that advertising campaign for the Bud Black Crown, nobody in that commercial ever drank a beer, period.
Never. That
was the most. It just made no sense at all. You know, these cutesy advertising campaigns by these companies who never drink beer. Why don't you just try to do an advertisement for someone that actually might drink a beer? Maybe they don't have black fingernails. Maybe they don't dress in all black. Maybe they don't look goth, or but they might actually buy your product. How about doing that? I guess that don't make a big enough splash for the Super Bowl, but you see what the results were.
That's why the Miller Fortune failed, because they marketed it towards whiskey drinkers, and that was a huge mistake. It was just a good high gravity lager, amber lager. I mean, it was mismarketed to the fullest. I mean, the commercials were ridiculous for what it was and what they were trying to market it as. Somebody who drinks whiskey is not going to go out and buy Miller Fortune and switch over to beer because of that. Beer drinkers.
Yeah, I don't. The whole thing was a fiasco, and for anybody out there who claims I was in their pocket, maybe you ought to go back and look at my video from February 2014. What did I say in that initial video? I said, first of all, clearly that it was given to me by Miller. I never, like some people said, you begged for the beer. And you never did say that it was given to you. Very clearly, I said the beer was given to me. I even told the story how it was given to me. Secondly, I even got invited to a party, by the way, which was canceled due to an ice storm. And yes, I would have gone to the party. But if you watch the video, what do I say in the video? I said, I don't know about this beer. I had a lot of problems with that beer. And I said, I have a feeling, watch the video. It's still posted. I have a feeling that this beer is going to become Miller's misfortune. Now, it's there. That's the proof. And I talked about Busch Signature Copper Lager in my initial videos. And I was talking about that. I said, I don't see much being done to promote the product. And I predicted in those videos that it was going to be a failure because these companies do inexplicable things, like hams. Look at hams. I drank a hams today. I was calling out the Miller distributor Friday. I said, I got to talk to you about a Miller product. But there's a cross-lining going on in this town between two different Miller distributors. So he said, we don't handle that brand. I said, okay, I understand. I go into a local grocery store on US Highway 51. They got 8 6-packs of hams, pint cans. Every one of them says May 17, 2017. Well, you know what that means. That's not the born on date. And I said, that's inexcusable. You're going to let beer be on the shelf 3 months old? So like the guy told me, he said Friday, he said, look, you probably the only person ever bought a 6-pack of that stuff. He said, let me tell you right now. He's the area salesman for Jim Carrey. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, that is a dead product. He said, that will not sell. He said, you can forget hams in Louisiana. I'm going to tell you right now. He said, I've been working for this company long enough. I know how it works. He said, Miller is notorious for putting out products and giving it no advertising attention. And then they'll sit and complain in a board meeting about how it's failing. He said, I'm telling you, it's just inexplicable. It doesn't make any sense. No. And where did they have it in the convenience store? Out front where people could see it? No. They had it on the top shelf in a corner of the beer cave. Who in the world's going to go in there and pull that off the shelf and buy it?
I even went into a store that had Old Tankard at it and didn't even have it displayed. It was in the back. I saw on the beer finder that they had it. I walked in, I looked 2 or 3 times. I checked every beer in stock. Couldn't find it. I walked up to the cashier. I said, do you have Old Tankard ale? I was expecting to get the glassy eyes and never heard of it. She said, oh, yeah, we have it. I said, well, where's it at? Oh, it's in the back. Wouldn't it be nice if you actually let a customer see the product? You know, that would actually help if they could see it. They might buy it. You went in the back and poured it out. They had the 4-packs and they had the singles. I just scratched my head and said, what the hell is going on here? They're not even showing it.
The best beer Pabst had on the market in over 20 years, and
that is sad.
The Earthquake high gravity 10% is the 24-ounce cans are hanging on the door in the gas stations, but the Old Tankard is in the bottom right corner, and you wouldn't even know it was there unless you asked for it.
I just scratched my head and I said, no wonder. Who is running these companies?
It makes you wonder.
And then you get you email me, you get the response, due to poor sales, blah, 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 blah. We had to, well, I wonder why.
Yeah, why were the sales poor?
When a beer is a year old, if they even bring it out from the back and show it to you, that shows you don't give a damn about the product. Why should I?
You think Miller Coors,
what they are.
As big a company and everything as they are, they put, connect the dots. Well, maybe it's not selling because we're not advertising and we're not displaying it prominently in these stores. But for whatever reason, there seems to be a disconnect.
Those dots do not get connected. Now, as far as ancient age, apparently it sells itself. They stick it on the bottom shelf. People go in there and they see $9.99. Past experience, they've tried it, they liked it, it sells. It's funny about that. These budget, ultra bottom shelf budget products, they'll sell themselves.
They have a niche.
But if it's an above premium product, it won't sell.
Ancient Age is comfortable in its own skin, and the drinkers are too. So
that's right.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Not going anywhere. All right.
Nor should it.
Been on the market for 71 years, probably more likely 81 years, but whatever. So get ready for the ultimate controversial hangout, but not on our end, because we're just going to look at it for what it is. Budweiser, Wednesday night, 6:30. For better or worse, we're going to look at it. Maybe for worse. All right. Thanks, people.